Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the QuickBooks Quick Hits series. I'm Brittany. I'm a supervisor in the closely held business group here at SVA. I am a QuickBooks Pro Advisor certified in levels 1 and 2 and also in payroll. So today we're going to go over some payroll items, most specifically how to enter greater than 2% shareholder health insurance in QuickBooks. I think it's one of my most frequently asked questions, especially at this time of the year. Also go over some kind of important year-end checklist items and things that you could be doing now to potentially save yourself a month from now as W-2s are being processed in QuickBooks. Important things to note with QuickBooks Online Payroll is that it is full service. So most of the time for basically everybody, your W-2s are going to be automatically processed and either emailed or mailed to your employees at some time in January of next year before the 31st. So you want to make sure that everything that's in there is up up to date and accurate before December 31st because you have the opportunity to go in and preview your W-2s before they're processed. Without further ado, okay. Typically, I work out of the sample company to show you where to go and how to access things, but there is no payroll app in the sample company, so we're going to work off of the slides today. So, starting with our first year-end payroll checklist item, you want to make sure that all your company and employee information is up to date. So, if you're in the payroll center in QuickBooks Online, if you're on your main screen, you'll go to this update payroll settings. Under here is where you can update the name, EIN, and company address that'll show up on the W-3. You can also verify your state account numbers, like withholding and state unemployment numbers. Double check the state unemployment rate, just make sure it's the right rate. Every year you'll get a letter that'll tell you what your unemployment rate is. So just making sure that you have updated that. That way, QuickBooks isn't filing with the wrong rate, and then you have to go back and amend, which no one wants to do. So make sure that all your employee names, social security numbers, addresses are all up to date. If it's been a while, if maybe you've obtained a new W-4, that might be something that you would want to do before the end of the year. Double check everyone's filing status, exemptions, things of that nature. The best way to mass view all of this data is to go into the reports and run the employee details report. It will show you everything that's listed on this slide. So you could just boom, boom, go down, make sure that everything is as it should be, and just save it in your files. So number two on our year-end payroll checklist is you're going to want to reconcile your payroll for the year. So I say reconcile kind of a little loosely. So what I do and what I would recommend you doing is running the payroll summary and comparing it with your wage expense, your payroll tax expense, and your liability accounts on the balance sheet. Look for anything that's off, investigate the differences, and just make sure that things are as they should be, like no duplicate checks, incorrect withholdings, incorrect pay codes for benefits. Just making sure everything is flowing through the way it should be. Number three is you're going to want to check your fringe benefits, big part of what today is about. So the S Corp health insurance, group term life, personal use of company vehicle, HSA, 401k matching, just making sure that all of that is up to date and filled in before the end of the year because you're going to want it to show if it needs to show up on the W-2, so it does. A tip for accessing this is if you go to the payroll section in QuickBooks Online, go to employees, go to add edit pay types, and then you'll be able to set up your fringe benefits from there. Okay, number four on our year-end payroll checklist is verify your tax setup. Um, by this, I just mean make sure that, which it should be up to date, but just make sure that your payroll taxes are up to date to be paid, that your accounts are connected, that you don't have any unpaid liabilities leading up to the end of the year, that there wasn't anything missed or incorrectly calculated. So I have a helpful tip on here. The best way to search for this information in QuickBooks is if you're in the payroll center in QuickBooks, go to your payroll taxes and then go to your payments. So it's going to show you all the payments that are scheduled and that are coming up. You might have noticed on the balance sheet or in QuickBooks on your balance sheet, you have this new tax holding account. I would just do a quick check to make sure that all of your upcoming tax payments match what's in that. It should have a debit balance in the asset section on your balance sheet. Just make sure that those match. Sorry about that. Make sure those tie. Because I know when it first came up, it was, oh, what's this? Kind of moment where everyone was a little confused. So just make sure those tie, because you don't want to get into January, file your W-2s, and then realize there was a mistake at some point somewhere through the year, especially if this is a year that you've converted. Maybe you were on desktop, now you're on the online version. I had a client who transferred in May, and when QuickBooks did the second quarter 941, they missed an entire check. So I had to go back and have them enter this check through a spreadsheet and then amend the 941, update the unemployment filing. And I didn't notice this, and we didn't catch this until September. So that's why I have it on here, is just to make sure that there are no unpaid liabilities and that everything reconciles. We actually became aware of this issue through an IRS notice. So number 5 on our checklist is to run year-end payroll reports, and just to keep them. So I would recommend running those reports on the screen. So your payroll summary by employee, your tax liability report, your employee details report, and then I would save a copy of the W-2 preview. If it's not available already, it will be available sometime in September. And how you're going to find this is under your payroll taxes in your payroll tax center. And at the bottom of the screen, I have kind of what you might see if you went to this location now. It's that time, get ready for W-2s. So this is where you'll be able to check those when they do become available. Okay, number 6 on our year-end payroll checklist is obviously confirming the accuracy of your W-2s and your W-3s. So checking this before the 31st is probably the most important takeaway from today. Make sure that your W-2s, addresses, everything are updated before you approve them in QuickBooks Payroll, because once they're submitted, it is a lot harder on the back end to get it changed because you have to go through Intuit support. So you actually have to contact support to get them to make changes. So it's better to just check it now and make sure it's all right. Take the hour or two that it might take. And then last but not least, number 7 is just to make sure and verify, confirm all your quarterly filings. So you're not surprised by a notice. And if there are any errors and you have to contact QuickBooks support before your W-2s are approved, you'll know that the W-2s that go out are correct, because the last thing you want to have to do is file amended W-2s and have to get those passed out to your employees. So kind of just really important that before you approve, you're making sure you're checking everything. Okay, adding shareholder health insurance. So I said this is my most asked question at this point in QuickBooks Online. It is very, very simple to set this up in QuickBooks, just as done on the screen. So I can't show you in the actual sample file, but you're going to start by going to your payroll section and clicking on employees. You will see this edit payroll items kind of towards the top right of your screen, and you're going to click on that. Once you click on that, it's going to take you to a new screen. It'll show all of your pay types, your deduction contributions. From this screen, you're going to select new payroll item. Again, that's going to be in the top right. From new payroll item, you're going to select new pay type, and there is an S Corp owner's health insurance pay type already set up. So you're going to want to select that. Number 4, the next step is you're going to want to assign your greater than 2% shareholders to this pay type in QuickBooks, or else it will not show up when you go to process it. So making sure that you're assigning the right employees. So if you don't assign an employee, you will not be able to use this pay type once you set it up. Step 5 is you can either enter this or you can leave it blank, and you can update it as you go to process the shareholders' health insurance at the end of the year. So you could enter the amount that it should be, or you could just leave it 0 and change it on the check. And then your final step is to just process with your payroll. So you could wait and do this with the last check of the year. You're just going to want to make sure that this shows up in box 1 and in box 14. make sure it's not subject to any FICA Medicare taxes, and yeah, just making sure that it is flowing through to the right places on the W-2. Um, so you have two options. You could submit this with your payroll, or you could run a fringe benefit only payroll. So let's say you have personal use of auto, other life insurance type benefits, things that need to be added. You could basically do one payroll to just put this on the as of like 12/31 to put this on your check. It's entirely up to you, but just making sure that it's included on the final check, flowing through to the right boxes. That's the most important. If you go to do this and you have any questions or you're running into difficulties, feel free to reach out to me directly or find your SVA representative. They'll be able to help you, or get in contact with me and I will be able to help you. Okay, so just some wrap everything up, some key takeaways, helpful tips is updating and verifying all your payroll data. So making sure every employee has complete and accurate information. If you're doing an electronic delivery of your W-2s, make sure that the emails are updated, that they're accurate. Also, maybe it's worth it to invite your employees to access the QuickBooks Online Workforce app. Sorry about that. I meant to mute this. So making sure that you're inviting your employees to the Workforce app and updating the emails. Second is reconciling your payroll, your year-to-date, and your tax filings. Look for negative wages, missing taxes, incorrect deduction amounts, employer contributions being out of balance. So just making sure that you looked at this so you're not surprised. After you filed your W-2s, enter all your year-end adjustments, your fringe benefits, S Corp health insurance. If you're unsure if this applies to you, reach out to your representative at SVA, and we will be able to help you determine if this is something that you have to do for the end of the year. But just making sure that it is done before 12/31, because if you wait until January, they will go ahead and process the W-2s, and there's no guarantee that it'll make its way, and then you'll have to go and amend them. And then just running and reviewing your reports, previewing and approving your W-2s, and archiving your reports for the year. So I've said on a previous slide, I recommend saving your payroll summary, your employee W-2 previews and details, all your 941s, your 940, your state forms, wage and payroll tax summaries, everything like that. It's important in the event that you need, if you have an audit or you need a correction. I always like to have what was originally done and filed, just as a reference. That is all I have for you today. I hope that this was helpful. If you go to do this in QuickBooks and you get tripped up or stuck on something, feel free to reach out to us and we'll help you out. So thank you all for your time, and I will see you next time.